All right, all right, all right. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome back to the Real Precious Network. I appreciate you guys for being here. As you can see, we're amongst guests, okay? All right, so throw some hearts, throw some fire in the chat, throw some high emojis, hit that like button. Definitely hit the like button. Don't forget to hit that like button because y'all know those are the rules over here. We have to hit the like button so the algorithm knows that the Adoptee Foster Show is on because over here we say the uncomfortable things out loud. So I'm so glad that everyone has come to watch us. If you're catching this on the playback, definitely hit the like button, leave a comment, leave a question, and we'll circle back to it. But again, tonight we have some guests. I'm going to call tonight the Adoptee Round Table. Okay. I know we not round up in here, but I'm going to call it the Adoptee Round Table because we are all adopted on this panel. And this was literally just I don't know what you want to call it. Maybe we just had conversation and now it's just what it is. We're all here now. We said, okay, we're gonna have an adoptee panel. That would be great one day. And now that day has come. So I am so excited to have Miss KJ, the adoptee reset, on the panel. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, thank you here as well, an adoptee. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. We also have Amik on the panel, who is an adoptee. I appreciate her for being here as well. We did have an adoptive parent who was supposed to be on the panel, but there was a family emergency. So you guys say your prayers, well wishes, and good thoughts towards her and her family. I'm sure there'll be an opportunity where she'll be able to be on the show. Tonight just wasn't it. And, I always say there are 5 seasons. There's winter, spring, fall, summer, and then due season. Okay, there are 5 seasons, due season. And so in due season, our adoptive parent will join the panel because while adoptees' voices are important, we do want to hear from adoptees as well. I mean, adoptive parents as well, so we can balance out the conversation. I feel as though a lot of adoptive parents don't join these conversations, and it is important for us to incorporate them as well. So, like I said, it's going to be a round table type of situation, and we're going to have a getting to know you segment here so we can get to know the adoptees who are on the panel this evening. Before we do that, I'm going to get into the comments. 3 a.m. is telling everyone, good evening, folks. Welcome on in. Highway 20 Skinny is saying, hit the like button. Yes, hit that like button as you come in. Fish in the Fit. Good evening, everyone. Good evening to you as well. Good evening, good evening, good evening. We have Coach Chelsea Lynn. Hit the like button. Good to see you, Coach Chelsea. I'm glad that you're here. Yes, Fish in the Fit. We're going to have a good time tonight. Precious, tell 3 a.m. that ain't his real house in the background. It ain't mine either, okay? It ain't mine either. All right.
No
um,
trolling tonight, Highway Skinny.
Like Couch says, peace, blessings, salute to 3M, Michelle, and the panel. Thank you. That's the person that know my name, know how to spell it correctly, and all of that. I mean, there's only 2 ways you can spell Michelle. Michelle is my first name. Precious is my middle name. Precious was given to me by my adoptive parents. But we're going to get into the get to know you section. I'm going to start with Franklin because Franklin has told his story out loud. Franklin's story is actually on social media, so you definitely can find his page and follow him and get to know his story. But um, before we talk to him, I am going to show your video and then you tell us what we're seeing here. Okay. All right, let's get into it.
Hey, you look like me, bro. What's up, boy? How you?
All right, you good?
Hey, hold up, man. Hold up, bro.
Look at the dog.
What's up, doggy?
Hi. Hi, buddy.
Bro,
Crazy.
it's sick.
Yeah, he
Hey, don't. No, I knew you was gonna say
He got the
something
same
about that, too.
nose and
Oh my God.
How y'all doing?
I'm good. I'm
Franklin.
good.
So nice to meet you.
I'm Sabrina. I'm Kevin's
How y'all
mom.
doing?
You can call me Mama too.
Hey,
Frank.
I knew it too early.
Good, how are you?
All right.
Yep.
Understood.
Hi, Frank. How are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Cam.
You done got her in there. Oh,
But you're here.
don't make it about me. I'm just gonna kid you.
It's about me. Come on in here. We got some stuff scattered out for you guys.
Okay.
I went digging and found a bunch of pictures and
Yeah,
stuff.
you found all these for you, dog.
I found it. Did you ever see your adoption book?
I did.
You never saw your
I never
adoption
saw
book?
anything. Like, I never knew anything. I never heard anything.
So your
I asked
parents did not
questions.
share an adoption
They
book?
didn't. They didn't know.
Okay, that book right there.
This
All-
one or this
all
one?
about
The
you.
small one.
Here.
That's the book they gave Kevin's dad and I when we adopted him.
All right. So, Franklin, let us
Right.
know what we were watching. How did you become an adoptee? How did you get to that moment?
That moment came from me doing Ancestry because I was watching YouTube and the screen froze on an Ancestry ad. And I looked around and I said, if that's a sign, I'm going to listen. I ordered it right then and there. You know, like I had to unplug the Roku. Literally had to
Wow.
unplug it because it froze. And I actually made the video being funny. All right, y'all, I'm taking this DNA test. If I come back related to, I think I said some animal or something like that. You know what I mean? If I come back related to a jaguar, y'all know why. You know what I mean? Something like that. And I sent it off. And that was about 4 years ago now. So when it came back, you know, you're excited to see the results and you're looking. And I matched with like cousins, like second cousin, third cousin. So I reached out to them. And I really was looking for siblings when I did the test. So I matched highly with like second cousin, and we stayed in contact for about 2 years. And one day, when I was in Wingstop, actually, literally in Wingstop, I got a message from that girl that I was hugging. That's my niece, the one that
Okay.
said Uncle Frank Frank. She messaged me and she said, "My brother just took a test, and you have a brother. We live in Charlotte. This is my number. Call me right away." I couldn't even pick up my order. I was just in the line like, wait, what? And I just text back, wait, what? And then I'm like, let me respond correctly to this lady. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, here's my number. By the time I could unlock my car, my phone was ringing through, you know, when the car connects, it was ringing through that. And it was Kevin. And it was my brother. And we have our phone call, our first phone call, when he was like, hey, man, this is Kevin. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what's going on, just like you don't. I don't. It's all crazy to me right now. But my mom and my daughter are saying that we are brothers, and this is why. And they record. I'm glad they recorded that phone call because that was like a pretty awesome conversation to see. Yes, and I'm just glad that they just had the mindset to record it, and it just from there. My birthday had passed 3 days after that video, and his birthday was the 15th. So my birthday was July 6th. They called me on July 9th, and I met him on his birthday, like coming up like that Sunday. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So, and he called me, he was just asking, how tall are you? Like, how old are you? He didn't know anything. And at first he thought we were twins because he found out in our first conversation that I was adopted too. So
Okay.
he still thought like I might have been with our parents, like we were looking for him my whole life. He had no clue. So in that phone call, I said, I don't know anything because I was adopted too. And that's when he just like his face just went blank and like, what? How tall are you? When is your birthday? Like, what's going on? Are we twins? And we just kind of found out in that moment that we weren't twins. We were
Okay.
kind of like almost a year apart.
Who's
So
are you older or he's older?
no,
He's
he's
older.
old. Yeah,
I could tell. He
yeah,
has the older look. You got not the baby
definitely.
look, but the younger brother look.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not used to
So
being a baby.
well, not baby, but you could tell he just has like the older brother look. I don't know. Maybe I
Definitely.
because I'm
No,
the
for
oldest
sure.
of 7, you could
For
just
sure.
tell.
Right.
Okay, so that was the reunification, right? So there
Hmm.
there are two things that I wanted to point out in your story. One being, she talked about the life book or the adoption book, which is
Hmm.
something that I received when I was adopted.
Right.
Did you receive that book? It seems like in the video you said you didn't know anything. So how did you, were you adopted at birth?
Yes. I was not aware of the book that she was talking about in that moment.
Okay.
But I do remember, I do have that book where they say like my name and my, you know what I mean, my weight and all of that kind of stuff, and just
Mhm,
like little facts. It didn't really say many things about our parents.
mhm.
It was very vague, but I knew my parents told me, I knew my entire life that I was adopted, like my entire life. So that helped me a lot. So
Okay.
I knew I never struggled with being adopted because my parents were so awesome that I never lacked family. I never lacked love. You know what I mean? They was just awesome people. And they actually had they fostered about 23 kids,
Wow.
but I was the one that they adopted. So it was
The
like a
only one?
revolving door. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So my
Okay.
parents did that, but I was the one that they adopted. So I have a lot of big brothers and big sisters my whole life. You know what I mean? Coming in
Mhm,
from college and staying at my parents' house. And they just
mhm.
had one rule. You just have to watch the little boy. That's it. You can stay here, but however long you need, just watch, just take care of him. When you see him, just take care of him. So, you know what I mean? I'm connected through a lot of people in that way. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Right.
Wow. So all your life you knew you were adopted,
Yeah.
and then that ancestry, man, I'm telling
Yeah.
you, that
Yes.
ancestry, they need to give it, they need to give the ancestry out when women go and have a child. I'm just saying. Like
Right.
just tuck this somewhere. Just keep this.
Definitely. Because I didn't know it was as real as it was until it happened to me. You know what I mean? I did it just, hey, if it comes back that I'm, and now look, I have, and I don't know, that video doesn't show it, but we also connected. I also have another younger brother and
Oh,
three
wow.
sisters. Yes, three sisters. So I connected the three sisters and a younger brother. My little brother is 16. We have not met him yet, but still
Oh,
working on it.
story's still
Right,
unfolding. Story is
right,
still unfolding. That, and that's
right,
our lives. That's our life. I just
right.
met my younger brother not too long ago, and there's 20
Okay.
years in between us. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, it's the
Yeah.
story continues to unfold, continues to unfold. Well, thank you so much for being here. We're definitely going to, get more into the story. I just wanted you to kind of give that intro, being as though you do share your story online.
Right.
We have someone here that says, I love their story. And I'm pretty sure, if you look up Franklin adoption, or, I do have his, oh, as a matter of fact, I'm slacking over here. I'm sorry. I am slacking. Actually, I wanted to do it this way, and I should have did it while you were talking. But if you do want to follow Franklin on social media, you can on IG. I know that you have the IG. So thank you again for sharing that. We'll get into some specifics later. The next person I do want to introduce is KJ, Miss Karen J. Shannon. Thank you so much for being here. You reached out to me and you said you wanted to be on the panel, and I was just like, oh my gosh, let's do it. I can't wait to have you. And so I checked out a lot of your social media, your IG page, because I love your concept and what you are displaying for adoptees to absorb, and those who are not adopted to actually absorb. It's like short but sweet, and it hits. It definitely gets to the point. Before I put one of your posts up, because it really does explain, or it kind of explained, and then I want you to go further into explaining it. However, before I do that, let us know how you became an adoptee. What is your origin story, and how you became an adoptee?
Sure, absolutely. Similar to Franklin, I have known my entire life, from a little kid since I could ever remember, I was adopted. It was not spoken about.
Mhm.
I grew up in a Catholic family, so a lot of hush hush, and that still exists today. Um, I just, my parents were amazing. They raised my oldest brother is adopted, as a matter of fact. My mom could not have children.
Mhm.
My oldest brother's adopted. They had the boy. 3 years later, They adopt the girl, the family's perfect, and then along comes the natural child. So my mom ended up having a child successfully, and I have a little sister. So although my brother and I were both adopted, we never spoke about it. It was not we didn't have conversation about it as far as my parents were concerned. I was theirs. That's it. There were no questions asked. And when I was growing up, that was tough.
Yeah.
That was tough on me. And I don't know when I first realized that I felt different, that I shouldn't feel happiness always. And like I'm lucky. A lot of people that I've come across in my lifetime are like, you should be lucky, you have good family. But they were forgetting about the me part. And I think that's it's super important. But unless you're adopted, you can't really understand what that is.
Right.
And I think until about the age of 13, I did the same thing. I heard Leon say on one of his other casts that he was like snooping through paperwork. So I started doing that, right? I was being the snoop, right? Snooping through paperwork. And at the age of 13, I found a document, court of records. I'm old, I'm 58. So in Pennsylvania, you're not allowed to have that kind of information back then. So you're talking 40 some years ago. And I opened it and it had my name.
Wow.
It had the name that I was given at birth. And I changed immediately at the age of 13. I'm going to be emotional talking about it, but that changed something inside of me I still can't explain to this day. And I kept that to myself. And I swore that when I got older, I would find my mother. And I never thought about my birth dad. I don't know why, but I thought about my birth mom, assuming, like everyone comes up with that story, how they came to be, that she probably was a single mom, young, Catholic, probably forced to go someplace. So I found through some very long research, and the internet was just becoming popular back in God, I'm going to date myself here, the 90s or something, right? Right before my daughter was born. I found my birth mom and called her. She denied who she was, I think out of fear. You can hear that in her voice. She said she couldn't help me. I told her, I'm really sorry that she couldn't, but I was pretty certain that I knew who she was. And she hung up.
Wow.
And I called her back immediately.
I
Called her back immediately. I said, it's me again. And I'm just asking you for some like medical history right now. I have had some issues, carrying children and want some medical information. She gave a little bit and said, she apologized. She admitted who she was. She then said, no one in her family knew. I was a secret. Her current husband didn't know, blah, blah, blah. Her kids didn't know. And at that point, I was like, whoa, she's got kids. So at least I've got half siblings.
Yeah.
She said to call her in 3 months. It was the longest 3 months of my life. And I called her back and she hung up on me again, this time denied me and said she had enough going on in her life. And she just couldn't get there. So I just, my journey continues today. But I did the same thing Franklin did. I didn't believe in even at my age, I did the 23andMe and Ancestry because I didn't believe one. But the two came back with similar people, because I'm sure people take more than one. And I was like blown away. I had second cousins like Franklin. And these people started reaching out to me, and my fear, I didn't know how to handle that. I like started hiding. I started like blocking myself and blocking people because I just did not know how to deal with that. And it turned out that two second cousins, I finally gave in and I said, like, this is for me. They were very accepting of my story. And I found myself keeping the secrets, begging them not to tell their family about me. Because I didn't know what else to do except to protect this family that I don't even know, particularly my mom. So long story short, I met a couple of those cousins. One was one of the top 5 renowned DNA people in the country right now. And he is my cousin. withhold names, but he said, I am certain that the man your mom married is your dad. And I just was again like, what? No, there's just no way. And then he told me his mother's maiden name. And I was just like completely blown away. I reached out on Facebook to my sister, who I thought was my half sister. She lost her mind. My brother, her brother, she said she didn't really want to get him involved. But the longest story short, that was a couple of years. They finally told their mom. She made up a story about being sexually assaulted. She
Mm.
tried to forget me. Um, and they believed it, so they wanted nothing to do with me. Circa 5 years later, I get a ding on Facebook. It is my half brother's wife saying, so and so's taking a DNA test because, like, you just got to let this thing drop if you're a half sibling. Clearly, my mother in law might have been sexually assaulted and you just can't deal with this. And mind you, I wasn't bothering their family. I just was, this is my DNA. It's my biological history and story. I could, do what I want to do. And 8 weeks later, it came back as he was my full sibling and they were blown away. So we did share the same parents, grew up about 25 miles apart from one another. I met them. They were just in shock and had apologized to me for years of, shunning me. Told my birth mom, and she allegedly had never told my dad. So the man she'd been married to for forever allegedly maybe knew she was pregnant at some point, but didn't know I reached out to them. So 2018 is when I found out I had full siblings, and we connected for a couple of different events and activities, but it was too hard for them because they continued to want to keep the secret, including from their dad, because they felt that my biological mother's responsibility was to tell him. And then we parted ways and haven't spoken to them for about 7 years.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. I I I don't talk to a lot of adoptees, so excuse me if I just seem in another hemisphere because wow, I mean, we read stories, we come across content. I may look on the Reddit stories and things of that nature, but to actually hear your story come from your mouth about you know there was pretty much a lie out there and everyone went on the lie, but then there was some protection there of a woman that birthed you but didn't raise you, and like it's a lot to unpack just hearing it, so I can imagine living it. And
Sure.
that's what people don't realize. We have to go through those real life moments. Now, you are the creator of Adoptee Reset, and you have I guess it's part of your logo,
Correct.
the upside down triangle. You have the birth family, adoptive family, and the adoptee at the bottom. And you say the triangle is never the problem. The adoptee being last in their own story was. Put the lived voice back at the center. What made you come up with the adoptee reset? I mean, we hear your story, but what really drove you to choosing that name, choosing the logo, and really choosing to put your narrative out there through informational and educational posts?
Yeah, my background is in education, and I've been involved in education for like 30 some years,
Mhm.
working with kids who come from backgrounds of trauma, underprivileged minorities. It's kind of just always been an interest of mine to take care of them because no one really took care of me.
Mhm.
Not my adopted parents in the sense that they were not great parents, but that internal thing, that stuff that you keep inside, that trauma. That baggage that you don't share. And I've always been interested in social media, but in my mid 50s, late 50s now, I just was like, I'm going to take care of me. And I really need to get all this out. Never went to therapy, just started going about 4 months ago. Best thing I've ever done. But the triangle came to me. I don't know how it came to me, honestly. Like my mind goes, bzz, 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 bzz. You know, I'm all over the place most of the time.
That's we're
But
gonna get to
what I
that.
do, the inverted triangle, I mean, everyone knows that the triangle is it honors the triad. The inversion centers on the adoptee's experience. Totally. Not being at the bottom, and it's not my triangle. I look at it that way. It's everyone's triangle because it's where each adoptee gets the freedom to define what their own truth means. Everyone's is different. You heard Franklin's story, you're going to hear my story, you'll hear other stories, and so on and so forth. And you can see them on the internet. I just kind of, not many people have asked about it. I wasn't sure that people even got my meaning. But
we deep.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a thinker too, but I just feel like, it's not the bottom of the triangle, it's the center of the triangle when you invert it. And I think that that's important because, again, it's not mine, it's all of ours as far as I'm concerned. So that's a little bit about my take. I do short, brief. I don't really kind of have a rhyme or reason. Sometimes I just get a thought and I'm like, I got to get it out. And I think that's because of therapy, honestly. Therapy that's like allowing me to have the anger and the emotions and get everything out. I've been keeping things in for 58 years. And it's just time to stop.
Yeah.
I mean, I've helped other people along the way, but I've never helped me. And now I'm helping me.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story with us. We'll definitely get into different perspectives as we go along with the show. But thank you again. If you guys want to follow KJ, go and follow her. Okay. At adoptee.reset on IG. Definitely follow that great content. Like I said, it's short and sweet, but it definitely, is impactful. There was one today. I'm not even going to cry. It choked me up. I read it and I was like, wow, that's exactly how I felt, and I actually have it here. I'm not going to get choked up, hopefully, when I put it on the screen, but I did get choked up earlier, just kind of being in remembrance of that moment and reading those words and knowing what they meant and what they mean. All right, Amik, we're over to you. You reached out to me and you said, look, I want to be a panelist. Okay, I want to be a panelist. And so I don't know much about you. And so I am looking forward to you telling us how you became an adoptee and, why you wanted to be amongst our community.
So I became an adoptee as my mother gave me away. When I was 11 months old, she gave myself and my sister away. We were placed into a foster home where they had never fostered. My social worker and my adopted mom were best friends, and my adopted mom was looking for 2 daughters. She had 2 sons, and we were legally adopted when we were. And I do have, communication with my biological mother. I met her when I was 13. I am not a fan of either mother. I am not a fan of either family, biological or adoptee. I haven't seen my adopted family in almost 30 years. I actually recently went no contact with my biological mother again for like the 4th time. I keep trying, but to no avail. Which that journey alone has led me to my healing journey, where I've written about in a book. I've written articles for New York State Office of Mental Health in regards to certain aspects of adoption. I speak and help children who have trauma. I am a trauma-informed doula. I do a lot of work when it comes to adoptees. And you can read about it in my book, Healing Hurts Like Hell, on Amazon.
Okay. Healing Hurts Like Hell.
Another book to add to the collection.
I am in the process of writing another one. I just recently went on a healing journey. So I got a lot of trauma from my adopted family. And I hadn't been to heal correctly. So I finally went down to, all the adopted homes and all the group homes and just kind of did a release for all the negative things, that built up in the last 41 years of life. And that's kept me captive and trauma and lack of emotional control and all the things that come with, abuse.
So share with what you're comfortable with, but I want to ask you, it seems like on both sides there has been turmoil, right?
Mm-hmm.
On your adoptive side, what would be the root of it? And on your biological side, what would be the root of it?
The root of it from my adopted side is the abuse. Um, my adopted father was very, very volatile. There's some things that you just can't say, online. Um, Again, details in the book. There, and as far as the biological side, my mother has made it very, very clear multiple times that I was a mistake. She did not want me. I was an accident. And in the 80s, termination wasn't the biggest option. Um, and my mother had one child 83, one child 84, one child 86, one child 87, and she did not raise a single one of us.
Yeah, my mom did the same thing, child. Yeah.
Yes. She was young. She had all four children by the time she was 21 by two different fathers. She just she ran with the wrong crowd and she did not want us. We were a burden. We were a barrier to the lifestyle that she wanted to live. But I also understand that my mother also has a lot of trauma herself, unhealed trauma. So that didn't allow her to be the mother that we really needed.
Gotcha. Okay. And I know KJ said therapy is really, really helping you, although you just started. It is something that is, making you self-reflect and actually flush, those feelings out. Franklin, have you been to therapy, or has your adoption story urged you to go to therapy, or have you just been in general?
It did. When I first, after I met everybody, and I was trying to kind of figure out my thoughts, you know what I mean? Because I didn't really know if the way I was handling it was correct. So I wanted to get like a different perspective. So I took a couple therapy sessions just to kind of, I was not hurt by any part of my story. So mine really didn't come from trauma. It just came from a lot of different things coming to me at one time, and I had no clue how to handle it. You can ask people next to you, but unless you're going through it, we don't know. But I did have my brother and my sisters to kind of help me through it. But at the same time, they are professionals to let me know. Like I always would say, like, am I tripping? And like, am I tripping? Am I supposed to feel like this? Like, how am I supposed to feel? You know what I mean? So I just kind of wanted to get a different perspective. But I definitely took about 2 or 3 sessions to just kind of see if I was thinking correctly and just get some outside insight on, what I was dealing with. So yes, I definitely did.
Okay. Yeah, and that's definitely a smart move. It can be overwhelming. I can only imagine what my youngest brother felt when 6 other siblings were like, "We're your brothers and sisters," like, and then we come to see you, and then it is a lot.
Right.
So Amik, so I wanted to ask you the same question. Was there any therapy sought out through your adoption experience, especially because the experience hasn't been favorable on either side?
So yes, but it did not work out. Um, I've learned that my therapy comes through writing, not through the venting to other people, because I keep running into these therapists that I know more than, right? They're not giving me anything that I don't already know. I keep running into therapists that think because we have something in common that, we have a whole life in common. I just, humans don't help, so I go to journaling.
Humans don't. Well, I'm not going to knock how you get your healing. So if writing is what does it for you, then I say keep going. Write a million books, get it all out. I'm not going to knock. I just said that last week. I'm not going to knock how someone self soothes or heals or because as adoptees we're learning every day. Whether you're in therapy, whether you're not, because you're living your experience daily. And I'm sure not having that contact for that long, definitely affects a lot of things. I'm sure, the rejection from a biological parent affects a lot of things. And so you got to heal how how and in your own pace and give yourself grace to get through that journey. So I'm glad that you're still able to have an outlet to do that. All right. So 3 a.m. You want to go first, or you want me to go first? We're gonna reveal our stories too, because we can't assume. Well, we know that our guests haven't heard our stories, but we probably have new viewers as well. So do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I can go next. Yeah, so my story basically is still kind of unfolding actually. I told you earlier privately about some things that I discovered. So basically my mother she told a lie to her family. Basically told it her family that I had passed away as an infant. And so I'm just discovering this, so give me a moment. um And so while I'm trying to connect with people, I'm trying to, like, I'm on Ancestry DNA too. So, like, if I showed you my inbox, you could see how many people I have actually messaged. And I think I only got a response from one person. And so, and then, like, I tried to find people, like, on Facebook, try to match to see, like, they had the same picture, like they had on Ancestry DNA, so I could message them. I actually, one person actually responded to me. It was like my mother's first cousin, and she is very receptive to me. She's giving me information, and she's providing me with a lot of information that I wouldn't have, otherwise. Yeah, it definitely is a lot of investigative work, and it can be tiring. Like, it can burn you out because you know you know how it is when you get those notifications from Ancestry DNA, and you're like, want to look at it right away to see if it's somebody you can connect with. And so basically, I have a sister too. So I have a biological sister. She was actually on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, was that 2 shows ago? I think
Three.
something like that.
Three.
And she basically didn't find out about me until she was like 13, um, by a mistake, because my mother was drunk and she blurted it out. And um, basically, my sister has been looking for me ever since. Um, and so I've met my parents once. They actually transitioned, so they're no longer here. So my parents have passed away. So I don't have the actual story of what happened. I'm just hearing it from other people, and I don't know if they're actually telling the truth or if they're just making up stuff because they want to. I don't know. Um, you know how it is when you're trying to build a bond with people you've never been around. You're trying to see if you can actually trust them, right? Like, so. Um, my sister. I've been in contact with my sister. She's been giving me a lot of information, but, like, we found out that we had two uncles, and I reached out to them, and they never they never responded back. But I'm kind of used to it because when I wrote my mother a letter, it took her like a month to actually reach back out to me. So it hasn't been a month since I reached back out to those people. So I'm kind of being patient a little bit, but in the same vein, it's like, they, especially on Ancestry DNA, like, they read the messages. So it's not like they didn't see it. So, it could be shock. It could be, maybe they don't believe me, that I don't know. And so I'm actually still going through this journey, trying to find people, but it has not been easy. And I will say, I have had a great upbringing. Like, it's not like my parents were like, I tell Precious all the time, like, I probably hit the parent jackpot. Like, they were just amazing. Um, you know, and I didn't have any like ill will towards my parents. Like, I just wanted to know like what happened, and if I could meet other people, like when Franklin, when he showed the video, like, I really enjoyed watching that because they genuinely seemed happy, and they were receptive, they were open, and they were asking them all the right questions, and they were saying like, "Oh, did you see your?" So I never heard of this adoptee book playbook or thing before you mentioned it, Precious, and so um, I probably have one. I just don't know where it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Could be
and
because you were so young too, but I thought everyone gets one. It could be different from state to state, but
yeah, it's possible. And so I was in a closed adoption. So I don't know if you guys were in a closed adoption. So basically, I grew up in Michigan. I live in Maryland now. So, it's, I'm actually going to petition the state to get all of my information once, once I get that back. It'll actually give me like some medical history. So I'll know what's actually going on because I'm not getting any younger.
mm, yeah, that medical history, man. When that question comes up, you just feel so crazy inside. You do because you don't know what to tell them doctors. Literally,
You're like, I don't know.
I
You
don't know.
tell me.
I don't know. Hopefully, nothing new come out outside of my body that Chuck will have to research in 20 years. All right. Thank you, Leon. As always, I love sharing this platform with you. We don't talk to a lot of. Leon always says I'm the only adoptee that he knows. I know a few others, but we don't necessarily have conversations. We don't dive into details. One is actually a coworker, but he sits so far from me, child. Hey, Justin. We just sit so far from each other, so we just don't have those conversations at work. And so I'm glad that 3am hosts this show with me. Again, I'm glad that you guys are here. A little bit about my story. So I was adopted at 9. My biological mother was a drug addict, and so I'm the oldest of 7. And like Amik, my mom just kept having kids. Me and my brother are a year and 2 weeks apart. From him to my other sister is about another year and 2 weeks. Like, it's just one after another. And then she took a little break, and then she had our youngest sibling brother. But I was adopted at 9, which means that I lived with my mom until the age of 2. My brother was 1, and my mom left us in the home by ourselves. And next thing CPS is coming to get us. Well, we went to go live with our great aunt. Our great aunt died in the house. There were rumors that she was murdered. I was at school. My brother was at the home. And so that was a family member that was taking care of us. She died. And so they put us into foster care. When they put us into foster care, they split me and my brother up. And so I was in about 4 or 5 homes before I got adopted. The last foster care home, I was in the longest. And so I loved it there. I had friends. My school was right across the street. That saying, we outside, that, like, we invented that back in the 90s. Didn't come home till the street lights came on. Everybody was safe. The community looked after you. We on our bikes, our rollerblades. We had this corner store. I'm from Jersey, so I'm from North Jersey, and when I got adopted, I moved to South Jersey. And When I got adopted, the day the how I got adopted, it was a picnic. Okay, all these kids at this picnic. Look, I just thought I was going somewhere where we were going to have fun. We were going to sing. There was going to be food, but all the kids at the picnic needed to be adopted. Okay, I didn't know this. And so we're going through the activities. I got on stage, sung Lauryn Hill. I've always been an outgoing, young girl. Well, I've always been that way. Next thing you know, I'm getting adopted. I didn't know that that was part of the process. And so that was very traumatic for me. My parents, great parents, they raised us well. Nothing bad to say about my parents. Like you, KJ, I lived in a home where we didn't talk about our adoption. And so that deeply affected me because my brother and I came from different foster care homes. And so I was who I was as a child, and I was raised how I was in a foster care home. And he was who he was, and he was raised a lot different than me. He had a lot more issues and things going on that I didn't have going on. If I could compare it, it seemed like I went from heaven to hell. And I know that that sounds heavy, but that's what it felt like as a child. I went from being a child to now being in this environment where I don't know anyone. I'm expected to call, my mom and dad. The ride from North Jersey to South Jersey was about an hour and 15 minutes. I cried the entire ride. I just wanted no parts of moving, adoption, anything. And another, like I said, I didn't know it was part of the adoption process. I didn't know I was getting adopted. Now there were visits, but again, in my mind as a kid, because you go from foster care home to foster care home, going somewhere or getting in a car is a normal occasion. Like it's not like it's anything different. You don't know that the situation is changing from, car to car pretty much. And so if I could have changed anything and if I can improve and if we can, because we ain't under the grave yet, but it would be incorporating those big feelings around, what we emotionally had to go through, because it was not easy. It seemed as though they just wanted us to say, okay, we're here now and we're going to be a family. And it just did not, it operated like that. I'm gonna be honest, it operated like that, but internally, it didn't click for me. It was almost like we went through the motions. We were a family on the outside, but on the inside, it was like, I need to get a lot of this out. And so I did go to counseling. I did go to therapy. It took me a few tries to find a therapist who I was comfortable with, but it eventually did happen, and that helped me out a lot. Like Amik, I like to write. I need to publish a book. I have a workbook that I did a while ago, and it's sitting around, and I need to get it published. And therapy really helped me regulate my emotions because I would snap. I would say whatever. I wouldn't care about your feelings. I wouldn't care how you felt. I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, and that's it. You're gonna take it, and you're gonna do whatever you do with it. And therapy really helped me regulate my emotions. It helped me create boundaries, like Artrice was saying 2 shows ago. It helped me create the boundaries because as adoptees, we become people pleasers almost by nature a little bit, because we're in an environment where we're expected to be sons and daughters. And I was 9. So, it seemed like everyone here was a lot younger, I want to say, when you got adopted. And so knowing what I knew at 9, having a life behind me and then having a life in front of me, being in the middle of those two worlds it just wasn't good for my nervous system, my emotional regulation. I was getting in trouble in school a lot. I was getting suspended. I'd never really clung to a crew. I was a loner, but people knew me, but I also was a girl from North Jersey. So it was like, don't mess with her. I was different from those who were orbiting in my space. And so, I was in sports, played an instrument, had a great upbringing. Like I said, my parents did a wonderful job with the upbringing, but we avoided a lot of the adoption talk. I want to get into another post that Adoptee Reset KJ posted on her channel on her Instagram, and it's oop, that ain't it. It says, I was not searching to hurt anyone. I was searching because something in me still knew. And I want to ask you guys, and you did get into it a bit, but going to search for your biological parents, how was it taken by your adoptive parents? Franklin, I've seen a little bit of your story again unfold. You're very open with that. And it seemed like everyone was like, I'm with it. But from your word, from your mouth, how was that, you know, how did everyone take that you wanted to know who your biological family was?
Initially, my parents always would answer any questions that I had,
Mm-hmm.
but they just didn't have many answers because it was a closed adoption.
Mm-hmm.
So we would talk about it, and I would say, like, I never really, really wanted to meet my parents. Even when I found my family, I had a cousin to say, like, man, I remember you told me, man, I got my family. I don't care about meeting no people. You know what I mean? Like, I said that because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't. I had my family. I didn't miss anything. So I was not even looking for my parents ever. You know what I mean? But then it crept in my head every once in a while. Like, I wonder if, or, man, like once you get older, it seemed like once I got older, I would kind of think, like, oh, man, wouldn't it be cool to see? That was kind of the thing. And then I would ask my mom and dad again, and they would be like, "Ugh." So then I did the whole like write a letter to the children's home, and they were like, you could pay $500 to see if they want to open up or want to meet you type thing. And I had someone who was working close with them, but I was like, nah, I mean, I'm not gonna do it. But
Wait,
then
wait, wait. So they told what was the process? They told you
it
to
was
write to the children's home,
I
and
could
they
write
don't
it.
charge you.
I could write a letter to see if the other side wanted to connect.
Okay.
And at that time, I feel like I remember it was $500 for me to get that letter to I guess, my birth mom or my birth dad to see if they wanted to connect. And
This
Kevin,
is
my brother said the same type
the
of thing too. But I remember $500. It might have changed now, but
but the fact that you gotta pay a red cent,
right,
like this system is so everything revolves around the moolah, around the
right,
money.
right.
Like,
So I did not do that. And I
uh,
had I had the email address and everything. Like I had a friend who typed up the letter, but I just never sent it. I never
mm,
sent it because like I say, I already had my family. Like I
right.
literally already had my family. And then ancestry, that was it. Like
That's
without ancestry, I would have never physically gone to speak to someone or physically gone looking without ancestry making it that easy. You know what I mean? I would have never done it. Never.
Yeah, and they charge you for every little thing.
it didn't
Like,
used to be like that. I got on Ancestry. I missed that part of the story. So I did meet my parents. I met my biological mom. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2016. And I went on Ancestry to find my biological father. And after a long search, and someone who joined or she got Ancestry too, and whenever someone takes the test, they alert you that y'all know this. They alert you that
mhm.
someone else is in your someone has joined your ancestry. So I reached out to her and she was like, oh yeah, he lived right down the street from me. And I was like, um
Wow.
are you gonna give me his number? Like, and what's crazy is next month I'm going to New Orleans to see my dad, and I'm excited to see him. My second time seeing him. But what I was gonna say, Leon, is that ancestry didn't used to be like that. Ancestry, they are charging you for every little thing. Ancestry used to be wide as as the ocean. Okay, now
Yeah, and even like the state you live in, like, because I came from Michigan, and they charge you for just to see your medical history, like 80, 85 to $90 just to get that information. Like I don't know about where you guys live, but
Wait, to get the medical history of your biological parents or
yes,
your
yes.
you could do that? You could get that?
Hmm.
How? Isn't that like HIPAA or something?
Well, it would be the medical history for me, like whatever was in that book that they gave when I was
Mm.
adopted.
The thing about they call it a life book. The
Hmm.
thing about the life book is I realized as I got older because it seemed like a wealth of information when I was younger. But as I got older, I realized that they purposely left a lot of things out so that we wouldn't go, you know,
Hmm.
go finding, and like there are no last names in there. There are no like, there are no even my foster homes that are listed in the book, like their addresses aren't in there, so I'm no, like there is no like medical history in ours. It just said like my mom liked to play basketball. Crazy, I played basketball. She, liked to write. There were a lot of similarities that I saw in there about my mom.
Hmm.
Wasn't a lot of facts about my father. It just said he worked at a rest stop in Florida, but the name was right, so she knew his name for sure. But yeah, ancestry is nickel and diamond.
Yeah, and you have to actually go to probate court to get your original birth certificate in Michigan.
Mm.
So it's not like that anywhere else. So they
Mm.
tried to pass a law um, to actually allow all adoptees to get like all the information they could, and they rejected it. That just they rejected that last year. So whatever the laws have been, you have to actually follow whatever you're trying. Like if you're trying to get your original birth certificate, you have to actually file for probate court. That actually costs. Everything costs. Like it's not. It's not like you could just go and request it and they send it to you.
Now I know that in Jersey, the records were unsealed. I would say probably a good 5 or 6 years now they've been unsealed.
Hmm.
What about everyone else? Have your adoption, or have you ever even gone to see what your Franklin? I think for you, it's just like I got more family. Like Franklin, Franklin, like I got the best of both worlds over here. Everything been
Yeah,
good,
that was it for me. I opened my arms. I said, "Look, oh, you family, let's go." I was just reaching out to everybody I could. Just
right?
hey, you're my cousin. Let's meet. You're my sister. Let's go. Let's just. That was just my energy the entire time. Just and luckily they reached back. You know what I mean? Like immediately.
Yeah, that's the key thing. Like having, like, you can search, but like it's the point of the reciprocation, right? Like, so it's not like you can reach out to somebody. Like, obviously, I've been doing it for years and nobody's reached back to me. So, obviously, they didn't know, or, they just in shock, or they just don't want to deal. They don't want to be a part of your story. Um, and sometimes when you reach out to people, they, I feel like they think that you want something, like monetarily, and that's not the case. I'm doing good in life.
Right.
I've created a good space in my life to be able to actually do this. So like it's not like I'm just hard up for money, or I need, I need $20 to get some gas. That's not the case. I'm just looking to close chapters where they need to be closed.
And sometimes with that, you have to be careful. We talk about on the platform a lot the mentality or the maturity that you have to have to meet
Hmm.
your biological family, because no, we're not the ones asking, for money, but I've been around my biological family and they asking me for money. Like, what y'all think I'm rich? What y'all think I live in the Hamptons? Like, no. So even things like that, you have to be
Mm-hmm.
prepared to say no. You
Mm-hmm.
have to be prepared to set that boundary. You have to be prepared to always face reality. And reality is we are a family, but I don't know you, and that needs to be, that always needs to be the forefront. We are getting to know each other. We are getting the opportunity to have a relationship, but we don't know each other. And I'm not going to ask you for money, so don't ask me for no money. Thank you. Okay. So, KJ, when it came to, okay, so you're 4 months after therapy, you now know your story in its entire truth. Are there still any loose ends when it comes in? We talk about our journey, going through our journeys daily. What are the loose ends that you struggle with now with your story, with your adoption story?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm still in the journey.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because I don't know if adoptees ever give up. At least I know I never will until I am under the ground or not here anymore. The thing that's on my biological father passed away almost a year ago.
Sorry.
Um, and similar to, you asked a question about the birth certificates. I found that orphan a court record with my name on it.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea how in 1968 my parents had that and just never once brought it up. But I had to petition the hospital that I was born. They made me petition the courts. I paid over $1,000 to get information that was all non-identifying. The age of the mother or the father, everything was non-identifiable, no medical history at all. And having said that, when I did petition the state of Pennsylvania, the Division of Vital Records, for my original birth certificate, when Pennsylvania finally released that as no longer law, you could get it. My mother never put my father's name. She gave me her last name, her
Mm.
maiden name. So even that to me was traumatizing, knowing that she still had trauma, either denying who the father was, not wanting anyone to know. It was just insane. But I don't know if my dad ever, ever knew that I reached out to my mom 20 some years ago and tried to get her to tell the truth. And then I heard probably 500 lies between that time and then when my brother took this DNA test. The story turned over 1.5 million times about every situation that you can think of. So I sent a letter to my dad hoping that my mother would not have any authority to unlock it to tell him who I was. Never got a response. And ironically, I knew someone at the postal inspector department, and maybe they shouldn't have, but they helped me to figure out who the signature was. And it was her. She never gave him that letter. So I don't know if he ever knew about me. Unless I reconnect with my family, I don't know if I should use the word family, but unless I reconnect with them, I don't know if he ever would have known about me, but he should have known. He had the right to know that he had a daughter.
Wow.
So that's kind of that's something I, until I get all the answers to my story, I'm not stopping. I'm not hurting people along the way. I'm not burning bridges and doing all that. I mean, I could have done that a long time ago, like many of you here, but just not ever. The Catholic in me won't let me do all that stuff. I'll stay in the pain myself. And however long this journey takes, I'll get my answers.
Amik, how about you? Are there any loose ends in your journey of adoption that are still lingering?
So actually, that's what I did over this past weekend.
Okay.
So I grew up predominantly down in Westchester, New York, Westchester County. And this past week, I took a trip down there to revisit all of the houses of horror. I revisited one of the group homes that I was in. Come to find out, it was completely shut down. Actually, Lionsgate bought it. So I really took the weekend and just everything gone. I started a whole new journey, from everything that, I survived and all the chaos that the trauma, had me causing in life, So I'm now at a stage where there's nothing left there for me.
Mm, mm. Okay. Now you're also a bio mom, which means you've had your own child or children.
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 I am the biological mother of 6 children.
Okay.
I 22, 19, 15, 10. I am the biological mother of a surrogate. I had a baby for a friend of mine who could not have children, and then I have a 6-year-old.
So how is mothering for you as an adoptee? Because I'm a bio mom too. I have a
It's
teenager.
hard. It's
Okay.
hard. I did not grow up with a good mother. I did not grow up with a good father. The only forms of parenting that I knew were harsh physical abuse. Not to say that I abused my kids in any way. I didn't know what to do. So I kind of just like winged it. My oldest got the worst of me. Um, and I really don't enjoy parenting. I love my children by all means. I love them, rock out with them. I would give them the best that I have of me, but I don't enjoy parenting. I don't think that it's the greatest gift in the world. I'm grateful that, I've had the opportunity to be a mom, but I don't enjoy this at all.
I mean, this is the real pressure. If you're going to do it up, you might as well keep it real, okay? Because
Yeah.
a lot of people aren't honest about that. A lot of people aren't honest that they don't actually enjoy. But girl, I mean, you got like 6. Like, what do you
I do. And that was a trauma response more than anything,
mean?
right? Um, I have a lot of, bad habits that come from trauma, and my addiction to sex was one of them.
Okay. Well, I mean, that look, that is part of coping mechanisms, especially if you're, introduced to sex at a young age, if
Hmm.
things happen to you that shouldn't happen to you. And so, girl, me too. I respect the honesty. Okay. Like I said, this is the adoptee roundtable, and we're gonna keep it real and we're gonna be honest, and there is no judgment here, right? um but sex can be a coping mechanism, just like violence can be a coping mechanism, just like self-harming can be a coping mechanism. And so I appreciate the honesty as well, because I don't know your story in depth, but I do remember you saying that your biological mom had kids, you know, pretty much back to back to back to back. Same with me. My mom had kids back to back to back to back. And I had one, and I learned my lesson. Okay, I got one. But however, I do have siblings who have multiple children, and they do know mothering is something that they know, they miss, they crave for. Like, it's one of those things that's wrapped up in a lot of things that comes out as a child. It's like, how do I cope with my trauma? How do I get over this primal wound, but still be a mother myself? It was awkward for me when I had my child, and my daughter and my mom, who has never had children, and so that's why my parents adopted. It was hard going through my pregnancy and not really being able to ask her anything. I'll never forget when I filled up with milk, and I'm like, what do I do? I didn't know there were special bras. Like, I didn't, like, it was just a lot of not knowing who to go to and not knowing who to turn to, when usually you turn to your mother for that. You turn to, the person that quote unquote gave birth, but we know that every woman, does not have that ability. KJ, how was it after your parents adopted 2 kids, then had their own biological children? Because a lot of a lot of women who struggle with infertility use adoption as the quote unquote fix, right? And then miraculously, they have children, and which I personally think that maybe you should wait until you have the actual children. Like, keep believing in the Lord because it will happen. Like, you know what I mean? One of those type of things. Even though there are children who need to be adopted, how was that dynamic? Because 3 a.m. and I have covered, biological children, speaking a biological daughter speaking on her mom, who was like Franklin's parents, who had fostered a lot of children, right? Remember that 3 a.m. She was like, but they got all the attention, and I was her biological child, and I didn't even receive the attention that these kids received. So how was that dynamic growing up, KJ? Is there a huge age difference in which there wasn't a lot of lived experience in the same environment, or were you all, kind of close in age and could see the environmental and biological changes and all that good stuff?
Yeah, my brother is 3 years older than I, and obviously it was the fix, right? Parents couldn't have kids, tried for 5, 6 years, adopt the son. Let's make the family perfect. Let's get the daughter.
Mhm.
And we're adopted from the same agency, but we're not biologically related. And then, a year, well, I think it was 6 months after they got me, my mom got pregnant. It was a very, very risky pregnancy. She had significant issues, and but honestly, the three of us were raised exactly the same. You wouldn't be able to tell that somebody was or wasn't adopted, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yes,
Um, Being the middle child, I think that's where I got my overachieving and adopting, overachieving everything in my life, and hyper independence. I didn't want someone else to give me away. I wanted to be perfect. I wanted to be the perfect child so that I didn't have to, go through something else. But it was not everyone's upbringing was exactly the same, from what I remember. And even to this day, everyone is still kind of treated exactly the same, good, bad, indifferent. And that's a good thing.
it is. It is.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to see what that dynamic was like, hearing it from you, because everyone has a different story. The nuances within adoption and the duality within adoption is, you know, it's very ever present. We deal with so many things. All right, so Miss Teresa says, my children are my entire world, period. Very good, insightful stories tonight. Thank you, Midnight. My daughter in law suffered SAVs from her birth family and foster family. We are getting her group, individual, and family therapy now to help her cope. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yes, that things like that have to be dealt with right away. I believe things like that need to be dealt with right away. I think that things such as self-harming needs to be dealt with right away. Something that can literally change your cognitive development needs to be dealt with right away. Because if not, it does trickle down into different generations. And I always say the blood doesn't lie. And so while we were all adopted, we all still have the blood of our biological family running through our veins, which makes us very different from the adoptive families that raised us. Even though they raised us, they did an awesome job. I think, with the exception of Amik, we all show, high favor towards our adoptive parents. And it's not because we're putting them on any type of pedestal. It's just because we truly believe that they did a great job with raising us. Now we all may have our, um different thoughts on what could have improved in our adoption families. um KJ, I want to go back to you a little bit, because you and I kind of share this similarity in talking about, or having the conversation about our biological background. And you spoke on it a little bit when you introduced yourself, but what exactly was it like when you tried to talk about your adoptive family, or was that not a thing? Did you ever try and you were rejected or you were shot down, or was it just something that you guys never spoke about?
I think from what I could ever remember, again, when you're tiny and you're little and you're growing, it's like you're the cool kid because you're adopted, you were picked, you're selected, you're special. And I think as it started to like click in what that meant, my parents never said anything other than that. Like my dad said, we picked you out of this group of people in the hospital and you had the saddest look on your face, so we picked you. Um, and I don't know how that worked, but we've never had a conversation. I remember sitting with my mom. It was an Oprah Winfrey show. I couldn't have been maybe 8, 9, 10, maybe. And it was about adoption, and these people are like in reunion or finding or wanting to know. Like no one said a word. And I literally I was paralyzed with fear to ever ask my parents or to ever tell them how I felt. I never did. To this day, I have never discussed with either of my parents my journey.
That's
Wow.
funny you said that you was
Yeah.
paralyzed. I felt the same way. And I used
Paralyzed.
to watch, yeah, I used to watch those shows. And actually, when I went to therapy, counselor basically told me, he was like, look, I know you watch all them adoption shows and it seemed hunky dory, like everybody's all happy, but that's not reality. Like that's not, you know, and I'm literally living that right now. So, um, you know, I just try to look at, where I am in life and I just try to be positive and think about the things that, I have overcome. And, you know, we we've come from situations that were not favorable to us. And they put us up for adoption for a reason because they want us to have a better life. We've all had a better life in many ways. And so our stories are really, we're just trying to close or just piece together the chapters that are not fully written. Um, and, you know, we may never get the answers that we want, but that doesn't mean that we can't stop trying.
Very true. Very true. Now I got to get back to KJ. I'm sorry. But why do you, because Darian, you mentioned this last show when we had Julie, the trauma informed adoptee coach, on, and you say you didn't want to rock the boat and you didn't want to um, create any rifts within your adopted family by asking your mom. However, your mom was very supportive. You said you checked with her, you asked her 3 4 times, is it okay? um, KJ, why is it a paralyzing reality for you to bring that up or to speak about your journey that you're going on right now with them?
I my brother was my brother and I are night and day. My brother has thrown back in my parents' space as a growing up in his teenage years. You treat me like this because I'm adopted. I saw my dad cry 3 times, my sister's wedding, my wedding, and that moment.
Mm.
And I think that meant I should be quiet. I should not, you know, I don't know. I think that had a lot to do with it. That I stayed quiet because I thought that was what I needed to do because he was causing so much chaos in the house. All the way through, graduation, there was always something going on, some kind of trouble. And I just dealt with things myself. I'm not sure I dealt with them. I kept it inside. And then I now, for everything I preach and practice about not, being loud and not being silent, in my own right, I perpetuate that silence by not having shared that even with them today. Now they're elderly. I think I had a conversation with my sister, who's she's their biological. She knew about my journey, that I met my sister and my brother, and I wanted to meet my mom. Um, and I think our upbringing was kind of like, we don't talk about this with mom and dad. It will hurt them too deeply that you thought that they weren't your parents. I'm not sure that's an explanation, but
No, it's your explanation, and it's
yeah.
it's real, it's authentic. It's the feeling of a lot of adoptees. We feel as though we have to protect the feelings of those who have adopted us when we have experienced loss. We go through complex feelings. We have to seek out therapy. We have to adapt to our environment. There is a lot that we have to go through and experience without any, we don't have a say in any of it. So it's done all, I don't want, I'm not saying that it's done against our will. It's done without our consent, because we're children and we need to go from one circumstance into a better circumstance. And so the courts and judges and sometimes family friends decide, those circumstances for us. However, I have always been the person who, not always, but when I was younger, I was just like you. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to mask my feelings. I'll write. I'll go to, I'll go to my corner. I'll write. I'll put all my feelings down on a paper, but I'm not going to express my feelings whatsoever. And that is where the anger started to just grow. And I didn't even realize that I was feeding it and I wasn't letting it out to release itself. Like it was just growing inside of me. And so someone told me, like, you're angry. Like you need to, something's going on. And I agreed with them because they were right. It wasn't, sometimes it's for another panel, but sometimes us as women, we don't want to admit when we know things and we should act on them and we just don't. But I'm one of those women that's like, no, you're right. I need to get some help. And so I went to go get some help. And that's what helped me. However, I don't think that adoptees should assume this position that we don't want to hurt our adoptive parents, because this is a choice that our adoptive parents made. And how do we ever hold anyone accountable, right? And we're not holding our adoptive parents accountable in a bad way, like we're scolding them or we're talking down on them, or we're sharing with them as their children. We should have the space. We should have the freedom to say, today's I'm bothered today because my biological mom reached out to me and her attitude is a little off and it's not sitting right with me, whatever the conversation is, or I'm struggling with not knowing who my biological family is, whatever that conversation is, we carry the burden of hurting even more to protect those who adopted us, when I think those who adopt have to go. And Franklin, I love your story. I love watching it. I love just seeing the joy, the happiness, the inclusiveness, the understanding, the warmth, the compassion that your adoptive parents had towards your biological family. Because like 3 a.m. was told, that's rare. That is rare. You have a rare, not rare condition. You have a rare situation, a rare family dynamic. While you were adopted, you still found your biological family. Everyone welcomes one another. That's what every adoptee would want in a perfect world. They will want your story. Like, can we just all get along? Like, why can't we just all get along? We need to get along within the house. Those people are my family. They had their my biological connections. They're gonna have relationship with me. Why can't you guys have relationship? There's no reason why that. And I'm not ignorant to the fact that there are certain cases that, like I said, my mother was a drug addict. So would that have ever really taken place Would my mother from North Jersey have come to South Jersey to spend a day with my adopted mom? I couldn't see that happening. I couldn't see it happening. And not because it couldn't happen, but we didn't we didn't talk about Bruno. Okay, we didn't talk about the adoptive family. I mean, the biological family. And I sometimes I feel like my parents were like, well, a little judgment. If I'm being honest, she was a drug addict. She couldn't take care of you. She now, mind you, they've never said these things out loud. So this is me assuming. This is me, but that's how I feel when we can't talk about that very real part of my life. That's how I like you just don't accept that part of me. So we're going to, parent you and put you in a better situation, and thank God that they did. But it still feels isolating, because if you can't accept that part of my story, which came before you, how do we move forward in a healthy parent child relationship if we can't be inclusive of the entire story? Has anybody else ever felt that way? Amik, have you ever felt that way? Have your adoptive parents ever brought up your biological parents, or was it a weapon used against you?
So it was brought up after the fact that the reconnection happened, when the battle was going on who was gonna get me, or which direction I was gonna go in. My adopted mother would tell me, my mom's an addict, she was on drugs, da 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 da. And my biological mom never really had a dog in the fight to begin with,
Right.
because that's what she was, But my adopted mom, my adopted mom was more so like, this is her, this is what you're walking into, this is what you're gonna get.
Yeah. Um
Yeah,
it
and I don't think people are truly Christians when they start talking that way, because people always talk that Christian talk, but then when it really, now these are situations where if you are a true Christian, this is where it really shows the kind of person you are. Like if you can't, um, and the thing is, we're not actually trying to replace what we had, per se. Like we're just trying to connect the dots. We're trying to cross the T's. We're trying to close this chapter. We're trying to actually move on with our life. And if they want to be a part of it, great. But if they don't, it's not like I'm, you know, going to stop living my life,
right.
right? So it's really about, I never really experienced that, but like I told the story, I was contemplating asking my mom like 3 or 4 times, my adopted mom 3 or 4 times, like, you know, I want to search for my parents, because I just had those feelings like I don't know what's gonna like I don't know what's gonna happen in this conversation. Like she could have easily went off the handle and like be like, oh well, what do you're not she could be like, you're not happy, or we're not doing enough for you, or she could have easily went that route, but she didn't. She said, I would be more than happy to help you, and she actually helped me pay to actually find them. So it wasn't like she wasn't a part of the process, and she actually met my father's mother with me. So we went and met her together. So it wasn't like I was alone in that process. And it's not like, it's just having support, right? It's not like she could do anything about it, right? Like it's just someone being there, showing you support. Um, and when you have people who are trying to talk down about people that, yeah, they might have had a rough life, but like it's still part of me. I still
Children
want to know
Christians
who,
before they got
yeah,
saved. Okay.
right. 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 So, it's I don't know. Some people, they have their own agendas when it comes to things like that, and they think that you're trying to replace them with the other person, and that's really not what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Adoption really is the matters of the heart, and I think sometimes we have to love the child that's in front of us, not the child that we wish, is this, like you said, KJ. It's like they had the boy, now we got to get the girl. Now we got the perfect. That's what it was with me and my brother. It was like we got the girl because my parents wanted to adopt the baby, one child. When they saw me at the picnic, they was like, "Well, she has a brother. It ain't just her." So that's what it felt like too. Like we got two kids, a boy and a girl, both best of both worlds. However, you have to parent the reality of the child that is in front of you, because trying to live in a fairy tale world is just not conducive to the growth, the emotional health, the mental health of the child. Now, Franklin, growing up, you always knew that you were adopted. Did you struggle with anything knowing that you were adopted, or was it just like, I'm a part of this family and that's the only thing that's different about me?
Yeah, that was it. I never felt different. It was just that's who my family was. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just like I say, as I got older, I would just think I would see things and say, "Oh, I wonder who my mom is." And my parents would always say, "We don't know, but we do." Like they didn't know. It was
Mm-hmm.
closed. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? It was closed, so but they never shut it down. They always would say, like, give me as much information as I could. My mom had like a green box with like all of everything in it. So she would
Mm-hmm.
always give me letters and stuff for me to look and piece anything together if I ever wanted to. But I never felt the urge to until I got older, like 4 or 5 years ago is when I really, really said, I just want to see, because I felt like I had a little brother. So that's what I was looking for. Like I tell my friends, I'm like, man, what if I got a little brother that's about to go to Alabama or something like that? You know what I'm saying? To play football, like I could go see him play.
Yeah.
Like they were like, boy, you old, you ain't got no little brother. You know what I mean? They were always like, man, what if I got a little high school little brother that need me to like teach him how to catch, and I'm missing it because I just don't know he exists. But I still, even when I would have those conversations, I still didn't do anything until ancestry. And I was right. Like I definitely have you know what I mean? I didn't know I would have an older brother and three sisters, but I definitely have a little brother.
Yeah.
So I felt it, you know what I mean? And that's like I say, that's why I did ancestry. But I never missed parents ever, not one time. I never missed parents. And just like a part of my story, the father is not involved in our story. He chose not to reach back. But
Mm-hmm.
I have so many connections that are amazing. I refuse to even let that even, like you say, my situation is so rare that I could never let that. I mean, I think about it sometimes like, but I have 30 new family members who want to come to my house every other week. You know what I mean? So I
Right.
can't I can't put focus on that. And my biological mom, she's coming here Friday. Like we're like this, you know what I'm saying? And
That's
my
good.
cousin who I met Ancestry 4 years ago, like one of the first people I reached out to, I just left her son's basketball game Saturday. So I hung out with them. So it's just, but I wanted those connections. Like I am doing more than I'm not gonna say should do, but I do my part in making sure that I text everybody, say, hey, social media, hey, what's up? Like, cause I wanted that. I always wanted siblings, so I'm doing everything I can to make sure all of that goes straight. Like I told them from the beginning, I'm never gonna let you down. We're gonna be close. We can get in arguments, but we are never gonna disconnect. Same thing with my biological mom. I said we will never even argue. Like me and
Mm-hmm.
my brother, ever. We got into one back and forth, and that lasted that long. And ever since then, it's just I refuse to let anything mess that up. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, cover with for that. But yeah, I never yearned for the parent part. I'm happy
Mhm.
I met my mom.
Right.
Like she is awesome. I love her to death, and it's just cool to see like where I come from. Like
Hmm.
she's 6'2", curly hair, just like
Six
me.
two.
Like 6'2".
Wow.
She was a basketball player. So
Yeah.
now seeing how I'm so athletic, like people say, how are you in your 40s still running around? And I'm seeing she's flexible. She was a Hall of Fame basketball player. So
Wow.
it shows where I got my athleticism from, my calf muscles, my legs, everything. It was just when we first met, she was just touching me like, look at your nose, your face, like
Not
look at
creative.
I yeah, she said she could never grow calf muscles and me or my brother couldn't either. And our legs just go straight down. So it was just that kind of thing is what wowed me the most. Seeing her because she is just like 6'2", I'm 6'3", my brother 6'8". He had curly hair. She
The
has
mom's tall, the baby's gonna be
yeah,
tall. They always say that. The mom is
yeah,
tall, the baby's gonna be tall.
right. And she's still athletic.
Wow.
66 years old, still raking leaves and running around and just run 3 miles. You know what I'm saying? So it's just yeah, that's the part that I like the most. Like seeing why I am like I am. You know what I mean?
Me
So
and
that was
3 talk about that all the time. We never, and we always say 6'8" is crazy. We never say we yearned for our biological parents. Like we didn't yearn. If I yearned for one over the other, it'd probably be my dad, my biological father, in which me and him are twins in every aspect of the word, our personalities, the way we look. Um, but we always say that it was the seeing, right? Because when you're growing up in adoption, you don't see anyone that looks like you. They may
ever.
have the same complexion. They may have, that you may be of the same, ethnic background, but they don't look like you. I know my sister found me, and she said she went rummaging through her parents' stuff because she didn't look like everyone. She was lighter than everyone in the house. And she found my name, and then the rest was history. I was going into college one day. I couldn't even go to class. I had to turn back around, get in the car, and be like, "Is this real?" So that's the biggest thing for adoptees is seeing someone that looks just like us and really looking at them, analyzing them. Like you say, your mom was like, what? Like touching you. And that's the biggest thing for us. And I think for adoptive parents, they think that we're just going to run off in the sunset with these people. And it's like, no, we only know you. Like, why would we leave you and go with a stranger? I mean, they're our family, but at the end of the day, they're really strangers. We don't know them. So I think that that's the fear, but that seeing part is huge for adoptees. I mean, did you when you met your biological family, was there a lot of resemblance? Was that a good thing for you to actually see your biological family and experience that with them?
So there is a lot of resemblance.
Okay.
And honestly, I no, there wasn't, no.
But
We all look alike, yeah, but there wasn't nothing there.
well, look, I think the journey is still unfolding, and in years where I'm gonna hear from Amik and she's gonna be like, things have turned around.
So I actually prefer the no contact with
Okay,
them. That is part of my healing journey. I
okay.
craved a relationship with my biological family for so long it damn near ruined me.
Mhm.
Right. Um, and there I'm craving something that's not worth the energy. I'm fighting for a relationship with people who don't want a relationship with me. There's that I've spent the last 25, 30 years trying to build the relationship with them, and every time I try it's just something goes south. It's not all stories have a happy ending, and I'm okay with that story not having a happy ending, because my happy ending comes from walking away from things that don't serve me so that I can be a better person, a better woman, a better mother, Those things don't serve me. That family does not serve me. There's nothing good coming out of it. And in order to be a better mom, friend, woman to the people, the family that I'm choosing to create, I have to walk away from the family that has caused me so much pain and it's just too much over there. So I like it here. I like the calm. I'm okay with not having the great adoption story. I'm okay with not having the great reconciliation story. I'm okay with it. And it's a huge step of healing for me to know that I can cut them off and be okay.
And that's acceptance. Part of the healing is accepting. And a lot of people don't accept, that the relationship is not going to go anywhere. They don't accept that, you're forcing something that is just not going to amount to anything. And so when you don't accept those things, you're not able to, especially as a woman, our natural state is flow. Like we flow, and you're not going to be able to flow if you're not accepting of the things that should be flowing through you, or your body does not react to or positively gravitate to. So I love all of the honesty. I love all the realizations and the acceptance of I've tried, it didn't work, and I'm okay healing over here for the sake of my children and my family and the family that I have to attend to and be attentive to. So I definitely respect that. All right. So I have one last video and then we're going to get out of here. We're pushing up against 2 hours. I want it to be about an hour and a half. But it looks like we're going a little bit longer. Stories are flowing. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. You guys didn't have to, but you're here. Going to get into a couple of comments and we'll get into the last video. Raimi says, speaking as a mother, I probably would find it very hard to find that balance of letting your adopted child look for their birth parents, knowing they could get hurt. Yes, and I think in most states you have to be around 18, I believe, to look. My family came looking for me. So I didn't necessarily go looking for them initially, and then I did start my search. Raimi says, but I can definitely see why you would yearn to know where you came from. Yeah, I think anyone who's adopted definitely yearns that, whether they look, whether they try to reunify with their adopt or their biological family. It's always a thought. Whether you act on it or not is one thing, but it's always a thought. Adoption is state sanctioned human trafficking. We were going to get into that tonight. I think I'm going to save it for next live. All of you are welcome to come back next live, but we were going to get into Georgia Tan. I don't know if you guys know who Georgia Tan. I know, KJ, you know who it is. I believe you commented underneath of this actual post, but I think I'm going to save this for next week because it says the woman who helped shape modern adoption was a child trafficker. So guys, definitely do your homework and come back with the deets next show. And I'm talking to those who are viewing because we're definitely going to get into that next week, because I don't know if a lot of people know the history of Georgia Tan and how she started a lot of the deceit and files being sealed and mothers not having their kids returned back to them. But we're definitely going to get into that. Good evening. Thanks so much for joining. We have Tasha, who says, I was adopted at 3 weeks old. Always knew about my biological family as my mom never kept me from them. Biological parents still living. We never had a relationship. I love hearing all of the stories of everyone who knew that they were adopted. Like, it never was a secret to y'all. Franklin, it never was a secret to you. KJ, never was a secret to you. Amika, it wasn't a secret to you, right? That you were adopted. You always knew that you were adopted. I believe I heard you say that.
I didn't know I was adopted. I just knew I didn't belong.
Oh, you didn't know you were
I
adopted?
didn't know I was adopted until like 7, 8, when it legally like started happening. I didn't know that they weren't my real parents until then.
Got you. Yeah, I knew because I was 9 when I got adopted. I didn't know adoption was occurring, but after that, I knew. 3 a.m. You always knew. And so I think
I only knew because I was being Inspector Gadget.
Oh, okay. So you stumbled across.
Yes.
Well, do you think that your mom and dad would have never sat you down and talk to you about it if you didn't stumble? Because how old are you? Say you were 13? Were you
I
13?
was around 8 or 9.
Oh, 8 or 9. Oh, wow. And wow. And you could tell what those papers were, or were you just reading? Because I mean, 8 or 9, it's third or fourth grade. I don't even know if I would have been able to put two and two together.
My brother, he was a year older than me, but so like he could kind of tell me what they were, but like even then, I still don't understand what it meant.
Okay.
Like, okay, I'm adopted. What does that mean? I can't have no cake, or like what? What? It's like, what are we doing here? But I think like as you get older, and I think Franklin said it, it's like you start to wonder and you start to think about a lot of things. Obviously, I was in a closed adoption, so I couldn't search for my family. But even at 21, I was not ready. Like I
Mm,
didn't live enough life, and I didn't feel like I was ready to uh, embark on that kind of emotional toll because it takes a lot out of you.
it does. Speaking of that, the video that I'm gonna play, I was gonna play a different one, but I stacked them up so much that I kind of was like, I'll just have my choice on the litter. All right, so we're gonna get into this last video, and it was on Adoptee Reset KJ's page, and it's a little comical. However, it's the truth, and it's based off of a little bit of what 3 a.m. just said. And then we're gonna close and get out of here. Hopefully, hey sister, I think I have two sisters in the chat tonight. Um,
Oh shoot!
yeah, this is actually the sister that did not get adopted and was not in foster care. She's the only sibling that did not get adopted or was in foster care. Her father was very much active in her life, and then she also had people around her that was able to take care of her in the
Mhm.
interval when our mother couldn't. And so her story is a little bit different from our story. I don't know. We need a show. It's 7 of us. We need to get our stories out there. But this video right here is comical, but it is also pretty much our lives, especially when you are going through therapy and they do tell you to slow down and be able to live in the moment and things of that nature. However, it says adoptee therapist. Let's try to focus on one issue today. Me. Great. Which thing? The adoption, the DNA results, the family secrets, or the fact that Aunt Linda might actually be my first cousin? I thought that was so funny because while we become the investigators in our family, right, we also become the multitaskers, once we find all these things out, right? It's like, okay, well, you're my second cousin. Well, who's my aunt or who's my uncle? And then who's my mom? Who's my dad? Who's my siblings? Like Franklin, you said you knew, you just felt like you had a younger brother out there. And it was true that you did. And Ancestry pretty much was the starting link to unveil all of that truth, right? And so, closing the show, how would you tell, and I want every adoptee on the show to talk to the adoptees who's watching, who's still going through this journey, because this is literally an everyday journey, even with Franklin having, almost the perfect adoptee story I've ever heard in life. Even with that, you still have your daily, like you said, you're trying to be there, you're trying to reach out, you're trying to make sure everybody know you're present, you're not going nowhere. How would you advise other adoptees on dealing with all of this extra family, extra it almost can give you anxiety? How do you advise the adoptee who has all of these things going on, and they're finding out who their biological family are, they're finding out there are family secrets? How would you advise them on how to move throughout all of this? Franklin, you can go
You want
first.
me to go first? The way I would say, you cannot control any part of it. like for me, I could not control anything. You know what I mean? I just, I made a video saying kind of the opposite of what you're saying
Mm-hmm.
because I was on the end of knowing that my story is rare and still feeling emotions that changed my entire life.
Mm.
Like I had a good adoption story and my life completely changed.
Yeah.
And my life is not the same at all. Everything changed. Every single thing in my life changed. You're talking the relationships that I had previously, the new relationships, intermingling with everybody, trying to meet somebody and keeping people away from meeting them. It's just, it's so many different like variables that it's overwhelming. Even me having a great story is so overwhelming that I would not suggest that people even, you know what I mean? I don't want to say don't try, but once you open the door, it's just you cannot control what's behind it. You can't.
Floodgates are open.
So you don't. I can't tell you how to navigate it because I still don't know. You
Mm.
know what I mean? I have no clue. Like that's why I went to the therapist. I don't even know if I'm supposed to feel like this. Am I supposed to be happy? Am I supposed to be? It's just so much. It's so many different moving parts. You have to take care of people. I have to make sure my parents felt okay. I'm meeting my birth mom. Are you okay? Now I'm dealing with my birth mom and her story and how she felt, the guilt that she felt, every feeling that she feels. And then I put it on social media. So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm playing protector from everything. They're saying I would never meet her if she did that to me. So I just added an extra layer of just, you know what I mean? And I'm a social person and I'm used to it now, but it could get really, really crazy for people who don't want their story put out. And then I'm on social media so much that I have to share certain parts. You don't know what you should share, what you shouldn't. So
Yeah.
it's just if you want to know where you come from, I would say just be I don't want to say cautious, but you have to be
Yeah.
because you never know what's behind that door. I was so afraid that my mom would be in a bad situation that I was afraid to call when we had the number because I did not know what we would find. And I knew if she were in a terrible situation, I would not be able to ignore it. You know what I mean? I knew if she was, I had no clue what we were getting into.
Right.
And my brother had the phone number and he was like, all right, we're going to call. And I was like, wait. And that's the first time I broke down into tears. And I was just
Mm.
like, I don't know if I could do that right now. But then I called him back in 10 minutes and I was like, for you, I'm going to do it. And we made the phone call. And luckily, she was just like a retired sheriff, you know what I mean? Just investigator, was not messed up at all.
Mm.
Just, you know what I mean? She was,
Ready to receive y'all.
yeah, it took her a while. It took her a couple days because she just said the shock of, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Realizing that her two boys are on the other side of this one phone number. But I don't, it is a lot. And I have a good story and it's a lot. So I can't even imagine the other parts. But it is a lot. It's overwhelming. You can't control anything. You can't control people's attitudes, people's energy. If they like you, they don't. It's no emotion. You can't control any part of it.
Mm.
You know what I don't know.
That's
I'm
real.
not saying I
Real.
wouldn't advise it, but boy, I don't know how to tell you to prepare for it. I have no
That's
clue.
real. That's real.
I have no clue how to prepare for it. I had a brother to go through with, so it made it a little bit easier, but yet still overwhelming. It's still overwhelming right now. I met 30, 40 new family members, and everybody, I was like the new toy. Everybody was trying to call me even once. My uncles and aunts were in a group chat, and they released my number in the group chat. One of them, I talked to one of them for the first time, and they said, "Can I give your aunts your number? Because I have 7 aunts and uncles on one side, another 6 on the other side."
Huge family.
You know what I mean? So that when they released my number, my phone just whoop, 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 all 7 of them at one time. And I'm like, hey, I'm your nephew. It's a lot. You know what I mean? It's a lot. So
It is. It is.
I was
It's like
just,
we need more than 24 hours. Like, like we extend the day. Okay.
Right, right, right.
Uh,
I
'cause-
don't know. If you want to know where you come from, do it. But just know it is a lot. Either way,
Mhm.
it's a lot. So
Yes, it is. Well, thank you for your honesty and realness. It's like it's a lot. Definitely don't think that you can control it, but at the same time, it's one of those hands-on experiences. You don't know until you know. KJ, what about you? How would you advise someone um, through the intensity of finding biological parents or even navigating, feelings about them and meeting them? Um, how would you tell a adoptee to navigate through that, move through
Well, I'm Franklin. I have to follow that,
that?
right? I mean, you put me on the spot. Everything that he said is point on. Whether you have a great reunion or not, I have just I don't really have advice except that you don't need everyone to agree with your story before you're allowed to live it. In the
Mm,
bottom of one my adoptee reset, it's like one truth, live yours. And again, you don't need everyone to agree on what your story is, but you got to live it.
yeah, I would agree with that. Everyone doesn't need to agree, but you got to live your truth. Um, Amik, what about you? How would you advise someone going through meeting their biological family as well as, navigating that through the adopted family and how overwhelming that can be?
The only real advice I have is don't have expectations and be prepared for anything. You're gonna If you have an expectation, you may disappoint yourself. Not everybody, again, has the good adoption story. Not everybody has the good biological family. Not everything is gonna be the fairy tale ending that you hope that it is, and just be prepared for whatever disappointment may come your way. It may seem like, everybody gets the fair story and you don't, but it'll be okay. Your story ain't meant to be everybody else's story.
That's great advice. That expectation, that's real too. You can't really have expectations because you're going into something like Franklin said, you don't know. You don't know what is on the other side. You're expecting one thing and then you got a sheriff coming out on the other end. You know what I mean? Like it's you really that's great advice. I mean, seriously, because we say that all the time, 3M, right? You got to go in with no expectations. You got to go in without having, and emotions are attached. However, you have to get to a point, and that's why therapy is good too, because it teaches you how to compartmentalize a lot of those things and not really have it attached to you in an outcome, but you to an experience and actually living that experience in real time and not trying to jump ahead of time thinking that what's going to happen and how it's going to end up. How would you advise 3 a.m.? Because you're going through it now. So hands on experience in real time. I mean, everybody really is going through it.
Uh, I mean, you can't expect people to respond when you want them to respond or how you want them to respond. Because, like I said, if I showed you my ancestry DNA inbox and how many people I have reached out to, and now there have been some people that actually respond. They're like, well, reach out to this person, but then the person never responds. Or I think you just have to be open and don't assume a fairy tale with the reunion because all endings don't be happy at the end, right? Like so it just um I'm going through it right now. So like I've been reaching out to people on Facebook and um like the one lady she thought that I had passed away as a kid. So that's a lie that's been um injected into the family. And so um the people that have reached out to me. I've been keeping in contact with them, trying to absorb whatever information that they give me. But that, um, and on the other side of the family, like I met a few of the folks, and it's like they don't want anything to do with me after that. Like, calling and calling, and they're not returning calls and texting, and you know, it gets exhausting. I'm gonna say it emotionally because I mean, let's be honest, you do have some kind of hope and desire to for someone to actually respond to that call or that text message, or that letter, to to at least acknowledge that you exist, right? um, and so when they don't acknowledge that, um, you know it's either something that they're hiding or something they don't want to expose, or maybe they just are truly in shock and don't know how to respond. 'Cause like when I wrote my mom a letter, it took her like a month to actually respond to call me. So I understand that getting a letter out of the blue from someone that says they're your son can be a bit overwhelming. So I don't, not acknowledge that fact, but there are people, it's more digital now, so it's more easier for people to connect with one another, and they still refuse. So I just say be patient, and they will, you know, it, leave it into God's hands. If He's going to open their heart, He'll open their heart, and allow them to actually, respond to you. And the people that won't, it's probably a good thing in disguise.
Yeah. Everyone has given great advice. Trying to see where I can fit in where I can. But my advice, honestly, would be, because this is not something that I had growing up. An adoptee circle, an adoptee outreach group, an adoptee support group where you could actually go and talk to other people who were adopted as well. So my advice would be to seek that out, because I don't think that, I would welcome any adoptee into this group as long as you're respectful. Y'all know my one rule: be respectful, right? But other than that, any adoptee is welcome, because every adoptee has a story. Every adoptee has a facet of their story that another adoptee does not have. Our stories are similar, but none of them are the same. They're very similar, but none of them are exactly the same. And so I believe getting around other adoptees who can share in the experience and just be a listening ear. Sometimes all we really wanted from adoptive parents was, just be a listening ear. Just be there to hold a space that I need. I don't need you to really even do anything. I just need you to be able to hold that space for me to just get this out, just to express myself. And, that's why people have their best friends, or that's why people are on the phone with people for hours, because they know that that person is holding the space for them. They don't have to be nowhere. They don't got to show up. All they got to do is pick up the phone, or all they got to do is just sit there and listen. I think that when you surround yourself with other people who have gone through those experiences, it helps you along the way, and it helps you more than you think that it will help you, because these people can not only sympathize with you, but they can empathize with you. They've walked in your shoes. They have gone through the loss. They have gone through oh, I wonder what my mom looks like. I wonder, they have gone through the things that we are the 2% of the population of 2% of the population are adopted children. We're a very small percent, which means 98% of children and other people have never thought the thoughts that we think. I mean, you might be in your biological family like, oh my God, I wish I was in another family, right? I'm sure that may have been a thought, like, get me up out of here. But we have really gone through the experience of being in another family and losing our biological one. And so when you come across, content like this, when you come across our social media pages, like I said, I saw Franklin page way before this was even a thing, way before I even came back to YouTube. I just saved his video because he has gone through something similar. And now look, he's on the platform and we're having the conversation. And so my advice would be to surround yourself, emerge yourself around those who have actually been in the experience, so you have someone to lean on when it's time for you to find your biological family. That support helps. 3 a.m. always reaches out. Hey, I talked to so and so. Hey, I did so and so. I got this response, and I'm sorry, it was a busy day at work today. So we'll finish our conversation. But you know what I mean? Even knowing that you have someone that you can run to or talk to, it makes a difference, because we are already seen or already have felt like other, different, out of the family, or not the biological family. We've gone through those things and we've gone through those emotions. And so that would be my advice. I really appreciate you, Amik, Franklin, KJ, 3M, like always. I appreciate all of you. You're welcome here anytime you want to be on the panel. We're live every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Next week, we will be talking about this woman, Georgia Tan. It's going to be a part of our show. It's not going to be the only part of our show, but she will be a part of it, because I don't know if a lot of adoptees know a lot of the earlier um I I don't want to even say a lot of the earlier processes, but a lot of how a lot of kids got taken away from their families. Georgia Tan had a hand in, and a lot of those practices are still being done today. So we're going to talk about that next week. But again, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you. I think the chat has appreciated you too. The chat has really loved you guys. They've been loving the stories. They've been loving that Franklin needs his own series. They love Amik's truth and her honesty. We got Konani here. I hope I'm saying that. Konani, I hope I'm saying that right. As a genealogy hobbyist, this type of information will have you digging and searching all the time. I love it. Bless you all. Yeah, you can definitely grow weary in your search. And that's another piece of advice before we get out of here. Definitely pace yourself and give yourself grace. Do not devote yourself to this search for a family that you don't know, because it could take you down a long, long, long dark hallway before you see the light, especially if you do have these expectations. So pace yourself throughout your journey. Again, surround yourself with other adoptees so you don't go on this journey alone, especially if you don't have the support of your adoptive parents. And give yourself grace. We're all going through this real time, every day, all day. Well, we're going to be adoptees until we die. We're going to die adoptees. However, we're going to be able to tell the stories that we experience and help someone else. And so that's always my goal. Be real with yourself so you can be real with others is my slogan, because as adoptees, sometimes we feel like we can't be real with ourselves. And I don't believe that you could be real with somebody else until you're real with yourself. And so that's another message that we push over here. Amik, her story is a lot different than everybody else's. But the one thing I do respect about her is that she's real with herself, right? She's not trying to force this narrative. She's not trying to, be in where people think that she should be. Oh, you should be grateful. You should know. She is living her life and she's living her truth. And if that's real to her, it's real to everybody else. So again, thank you guys. I hope this isn't the last time I see everyone. Definitely keep in touch if there's a topic that you'd like to go over. Franklin, if you ever want to have any of the family on, if you ever want to do, something like that, if you want extra content or if you want a platform, you're always welcome. Amik, same. KJ, same. We're here every Tuesday. I usually go live on Wednesday nights as well at 9 p.m., but this is graduation and end of the year ceremonies and celebrations. So for the next 2 weeks, next two Wednesdays, I'm busy 3 a.m. So you guys are gonna have to find something to do. I have a men's panel on Wednesday nights where we just chop it up, talk about relationship things and something just different from the adoptee.
Well, that'll give me time to learn Riverside even more.
Okay, yeah. The next 2 weeks, I'm gonna be tied up on those Wednesdays. So next week is gonna be a long, busy week for me. So see you guys in 3 weeks. But if I don't see, well, I'm not gonna see you. So happy Father's Day to any fathers, to all fathers. Happy Father's Day. I'm going to go see my biological father next month. So I'm looking forward to that. But definitely happy Father's Day. And you guys be safe. Again, be real with yourself so you can be real with everybody else. Have a great evening, guys.
Thanks.
Good
Have a good
evening.
one.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.